Jasmine, would you please take a roll call vote of the board for the opening of the IDA regular meeting?
Tim Dean,
Excuse me, here.
Mark Doyle,
Yes, here.
Kathy Bauer,
Here.
Amy Bondaderi,
Here.
Jamie Facone,
Here.
Don Sagliano,
Here.
Al Torjani.
Here.
Thank you. So before we start the meeting, I'd like to just remind everybody of our conflict of interest policy. If anyone is aware of a conflict that they have with any matter that's going to be discussed today, if you know that now, if you could please say so and state your conflict. Okay, hearing none, we'll move on. But if at any time during the meeting anybody feels that they have become aware of a conflict, please let us know at that time. Sarah, proof of meeting notice?
Yes, that was posted on January 7th.
Okay. Are there any bills and communications that we need to be aware of?
No, but I also, just for clarification for the people on the call and on the video, we have some phone numbers of people joining us, and I just want to identify who the phone numbers are so that the other members can be aware. Is the 511 is Kathy Bauer. The number that ends in 252, that is Jim Beretta. 402 is Amy Bombadiri, and 752 is Jasmine Haylett.
Okay. All right. The next thing on the agenda is approval of minutes. We actually have two meetings that we had, one on December 2nd and one on December 9th. And if anybody has any corrections or revisions that they would like to mention, please do so now. Okay, if not, it sounds like there are none. I would like to ask for a motion to approve those minutes of December 2nd and December 9th of 2020.
Al Torjani, I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Al. Could I get a second, please?
Second.
Don Sagliano, thank you. Jasmine, could you please take a vote?
Yes, Kathy Bauer,
Approved.
Mark Doyle,
Approve.
Jamie Facone,
Approve.
Amy Bondaderi,
Approved.
Al Torjani,
Approved.
Don Sagliano,
Approved.
Tim Dean.
Approved. All right. Report of the treasurer.
As we're in the middle of our audit and I will not be presenting a report today, the end of year report will be presented at the February meeting after the audit is complete.
Okay. Thank you. And just to remind everybody, I just want everybody to know that we do have policies and procedures in place for approval of checks being written and bills being paid. I personally get a summary of the requests for checks being cut, and I have to initial and sign each page of those requests before they're done. So even when we have a bills and communications item on the agenda and we say there are none, I don't want you to think that there's no behind the scenes practices and procedures in place. Okay. Reports of committees. Is there anything there, Sarah, that we want to talk about?
No, no reports from committees at this.
Okay. Any unfinished business?
No, no one.
All right. That takes us to new business. And the first thing is a review of activities by Hudson Valley Agribusiness Development Corporation.
Yeah. So this morning we have Todd Erling from Hudson Valley Agribusiness Development Corporation, and he's here to make his 2020 year-end activities report to the board as part of our contract. So Todd, take it away.
Thank you, Sarah. Good morning, everyone. Thanks for taking the time. I know it's a busy morning. I was a deputy executive director of an IDA at one point in my life, and the January meeting has only gotten more busy since then, especially with ABO and audit and Paris and all of our deadlines rushing at us. We're part of that mad rush as well here at HVADC. I just wanted to take a few minutes. I know we submitted an activities report to Sarah, and that's been published and posted with you all. But I wanted to just reflect on what Tim said and the idea that, you know, despite the fact that we're all doing this via Zoom and remote and in person when possible, a lot of activity is still happening, a lot of water under the bridge in 2020. And I want to start off just by thanking not only Sarah and the staff, but also leadership in Dutchess County. These trying times have really just had some examples of how this community, the Hudson Valley, the food system, food and agriculture are lucky, are strong. And I'm just going to highlight the fact that even though we had a really challenging year, activities wise, we were on par, if not slightly better than usual, even through 2020. So with that, Hudson Valley Agribusiness enjoys the support and service contracts with 8 different county IDAs or planning departments, economic development efforts. Dutchess County is one of the originals. HVADC was formed in 2007. Just to review, we're actually a creation of a Dyson Foundation funded report that AFT looked at with the challenges of the Hudson Valley and what would help complement all of the farmland conservation and the historic precedents that had happened in the Hudson Valley to help preserve soil and preserve working farms. And so creating a regional entity that focuses on agriculture and the food system as economic development and with economic development was one of the primary findings and suggestions of that report. With Dutchess County, Columbia, Orange, and Ulster were really the 4 core counties that started this. We have since expanded to complementary counties that now are core partners, and that happened really as a function of the ecosystem of the Hudson Valley. So Sullivan County, and then moving up through to the north, Rensselaer, Albany, and Washington counties. And if you really look at the cross section of those counties, there's a lot of common denominators and a lot of strength that comes from the various scale and scope of agriculture and how each county has some high points, but when you look at the ecosystem, it's a very homogeneous opportunity, not just to access the markets around us, but also the markets within. And we've really seen some of those examples through the COVID pandemic and 2020. So our core programs are the Incubator Without Walls. That's providing individual technical assistance to businesses on a tactical basis, addressing challenges that they identify that our team and our experts agree are sticking points to advancing the business or accessing new markets. Our accelerator program, which is a longer, more curated application program that has a cohort. We've gone through 3 of those now. The goal of the accelerator program is to create a peer group of individual entrepreneurs that are at a point in their business that growth is a potential and they would be seeking new capital to achieve that growth. What the accelerator has done over 3 sessions now is not only created those cohorts of the peer groups at the time of the program, but then the mentorship and the larger alumni ecosystem that we're starting to see develop and really flourish. And COVID was an example of that, with some market opportunities and tackling challenges as they came up with the alumni and the cohort, having peer-to-peer sessions that we help facilitate. Our Feed HV program, which is a almost Uber for food program. It's a program that was created through the community foundations of the Hudson Valley, really launched out of Dutchess, Orange, and Ulster as a core group. Farms, restaurants, any food retailer that has salvageable, donatable food to local pantries can use our online service. That's an app. They post the food as being available, and local pantries on the ground respond saying that that would work for their delivery or that would work for their for the client base or that they have from their pantry. And then volunteers actually move that food from the farm to the pantry. very similar to almost an Uber driver flagging the ride and taking it on. That was amazing this year. I'll get into some details. And then our Hudson Valley Bounty Program, which is a peer-to-peer network and a business-to-business network of farms, caterers, and restaurants that historically has really launched the farm-to-table programs here. Valley Table is someone that really highlighted it and helps us with the restaurant week. We've partnered often with Think Dutchess and Dutchess County Tourism on those things. This year, we've pivoted a bit because of those issues of the COVID pandemic. Just to quickly highlight some of the individual components of those projects, Incubator Without Walls, we had 5 different individual businesses we worked with there, but then also we worked with the Poughkeepsie Food and Beverage Academy that Sarah was a part of as well. There were some significant numbers of businesses that went through there in partnership with Hudson River Housing, as well as some of our local lenders like Rhinebeck Bank and the Innovation District Loan Fund. So some really great things came out of that. It was launched in 19, followed all the way through for 9 months in 2020. Our accelerator program, which, as I mentioned, we finished up our 3rd cohort. We've had significant participation, and that's typically 9 to 12 individual businesses in a cohort. We've consistently had Dutchess County businesses represented in there and participating, and then also having results and benefiting. Going back to the original cohort, the Sucoops, Fishkill, but in this most recent round, which we broke into 2 different cohorts, and it was actually funded by federal funding from the EDA, the Economic Development Administration, which in and of itself is a remarkable thing to comment on, because it's not just the normal alphabet soup that we're bringing to farm and food businesses, not just USDA and Soil and Water and some of the more familiar federal agencies, but new agencies that really focus on economic development and community development and are embracing this idea that farm and food are part of that ecosystem and part of the holistic approach that we're going to be taking to foster economic development and community development. So in that report, you can see some of the highlights with JSK Cattle and Great Song Farm being 2 on-farm particular businesses, Screaming Onions being a value-add producer that purchases directly from New York State farms and specializes in onions, obviously. One of the things that I just wanted to highlight coming out of those sessions are that, even with COVID, we had over a $1.6 million investment round with those businesses. And, some of the things that are just really interesting is throughout the entire cohort, we were able to see and track combined sales as they increased over time with all the cohort businesses, equating over $5.6 million in the Valley. A really amazing opportunity. And even to the fact that we've seen, 60 different farms beyond the individual cohorts having purchases and tracking purchases into and by the cohort businesses, and tracking even new market opportunities and expanding market opportunities. Pivoting in the pandemic had helped that. So we did highlight that through some of the summary. And one of the things that we always do with the accelerator is we actually create an exit report, a closeout report. We're doing that right now. We will make those available to the IDA and to Sarah. In our previous round, the USDA funded round of our accelerator, we had some great statistics and really great tracking out of that. And we expect it in this one as well. I've seen the draft. Nice graphic representations and testimonials of what it meant to the businesses to participate in the accelerator. I just wanted to highlight in Feed HV something that was really outstanding, and that was not just the donations. And the donations are amazing. They come from farms, they come from restaurants, they come from caterers, even institutional kitchens like colleges and schools. And of course, with the pandemic, we saw some peaks and valleys with those as there's been some shifting and activity. But one of the things that came out very early on, and even before the buying programs of the state and the buying programs of the federal government, was Scenic Hudson stepped to the plate and approached HVADC and the Feed HV program. And through 2 different rounds of cash donations directly into the program, HVADC took the cash and worked with Scenic Hudson's leadership and actually purchased dairy products directly from farms to put into the food pantry system. So not the larger food bank system, but right into the distribution points throughout the Hudson Valley. And one of the things that resulted in was actually over 7,500 1-gallon jugs of milk going individual family households, over 340 cases of yogurt, over 245 cases of butter. So working with Hudson Valley Fresh, working with Ronnie Brook, and going beyond just the fluid milk, we were also able to get butter and yogurt into those food pantries. Those are perishable products that are often not easy for those food pantries to deal with because obviously the time frame. But working with Scenic Hudson and the direct purchasing from those farmer-owned bottling and value-add production plants, we could time the releases to the individual pantries. And so this happened over a series of months, and it's been great. And we're still working through some of those funds with Ronnie Brook and timing those out into the pantries. It's almost like a nano type system. But what that's allowed us to do is, you know, put really over 250,000 meals of food out into the community through rescued food that's not going into compost, food that's not going into a landfill. And the equivalent of that is actually reducing almost 800,000 miles driven by individual cars in a carbon footprint in the valley. So those are just some really neat things that I wanted to throw out there holistically. We're not only tracking the dollars and cents, we're not only tracking the jobs, but we're also tracking the true input in the food system and the true input in our environment. I also wanted to follow up that HADC is a participant in the Dutchess County Ag Committee. We continued to meet throughout the pandemic. That we will have the virtual breakfast we're organizing with Cooperative Extension, highlighting the Hudson Valley Bounty Program. We've had to really pivot. We didn't have Restaurant Week. We didn't have some of the things that highlighting restaurants that are buying from chefs. Terrapin's a great example, and many others in Dutchess County. But we have been able to still keep that sourcing on the menu, and as the restaurants have pivoted to takeout and other market opportunities. The Cultivator, which all of you are welcome to sign up for, or we can actually work with you to get copies of. It's a monthly newsletter from HVADC that's been coming out since 2017 or 2017. We have individual stories and individual issues archived on our website, but some examples of Dutchess County highlights of partners. We did a really great article with Sarah and the work that she's done over her time with us. Rocksteady Farm, Great Song Farm, that was an FFA participant that I talked about earlier. But even getting back into some of the expertise and service providers like Jason Fuscolo, who's a Red Hook attorney who stepped up for not only veteran and farm issues, but food safety issues as things have become more complicated within our ecosystem and markets. And then the last thing I really just wanted to play up are some big things that we do with your support that benefit the farms. The federal packages originally with the CARES Acts had actually excluded farms from participating in the Small Business Administration programs, both EIDL and PPP. There was a pivot to include EIDL early on, but the first round of PPP farms were closed out of. HEADC worked really closely with Antonio Delgado, Sean Patrick, and also obviously Senate leadership. And there was a letter dropped in between two of the packages that Congressman Maloney, Congressman Delgado really led. And we had over 96 signers nationally sign on to that, other House members, bipartisan, obviously. And as that new round opened up, farms were actually prioritized to access PPP before any other type of business clusters. And they're included, obviously, in this next round that's happening. And some of the pivots that have happened are sole proprietorships and other farm ownership structures and business structures are now able to access these federal funds. I also just wanted to highlight that, you know, there were things that didn't happen. We were to have the Innovation Summit, Sarah, with CIA, and had to pivot on that and kind of put it on hold. And then the last thing, just big picture things that we've been working on, the Hudson Valley Food Systems Coalition, which is coming out of the community loan, or the Hudson Valley Community Foundations. We're leadership in that. The Hudson Valley Farm Link Network, which is actually funded by state budget out of the Department of Agriculture, but connects landowners with farmers seeking land or farmers seeking land with non-farmer landowners. And then the last thing was New York State Farm Institution. Even with the pandemic, we've seen the meal programs having commitments to purchasing from farms out of schools and also to make sure that they can access some of the financial incentives on that. So I'm going to take a breath, let you guys ask any questions. I know it was a lot to cover, but we also have it all in writing there in the report.
Thank you very much. That was quite a report. Sarah, could you remind the board of the level of funding that we provide to this organization?
So yeah, so we have a 3-year contract with Hudson Valley Agribusiness, and it is we give them on an annual basis $25,000.
So
So
I think that, and Todd, could you just briefly mention what your total annual budget is?
Yeah, so we take the 25,000 with you guys, have it matched by 7 other counties. So do the quick math, that's about $200,000. And then we work with a private foundation to support food and agriculture as an economic development program. And they typically match that in around the 175,000. So typically we're looking at $350,000 to $500,000. Now, where does that extra money come from? It depends on some of the state and federal programs that we then leverage and access. But on an annual basis, we're up around $400,000 to $500,000, Tim.
Okay, that gives everybody an idea of the level of activity that goes on by this organization with pretty slim budget.
If you don't
Real
mind,
quickly, yes, Mark.
may I just make a motion, make a point? So I hadn't, I'd skipped by mistake, the disclosure of conflict of interest, but since we're making a report and HVADC is making a report and we're not making a decision because we're in the middle of a contract period, I just wanted to simply say, just for the record, that I'm president of the board of HVADC, and that the when a decision for funding comes around the next time, I will obviously exempt myself from that discussion.
Thank you, Mark. I have one quick question, and it's just a very small part of what you did, but I did note that you attempted to assist Sprout Creek Farm. Is there anything going on there at this point, or is there no activity to revive that?
There's an RFP out, a request for proposal for farm management. We did have some assistance on helping the ownership and the board look into that. I know there's been a lot of waves kind of on how that's rolling out, but quite frankly, I think that's the most transparent way to get activity back on that farm, take advantage of the infrastructure and take advantage of the acreage there and get it back into the operating mode.
Okay. Does anybody else have any questions for Todd? Well, thank you very much for that report and keep up the great work.
Thank you. You guys as well. Stay safe and be well.
Yes.
Thank you, Todd.
Okay. Sarah, go ahead. You were going to say something?
Oh, no. I just wanted to thank Todd and then.
All right. Next thing up is consideration approval of a resolution authorizing Sarah, or the executive director of the IDA, to enter an agreement with Dutchess Tourism for professional services. And Sarah, would you address that?
Yes, so we have a annual contract with Dutchess Tourism. Dutchess Tourism will give their formal report at a future meeting because they are waiting for figures from other sources like the state to come in as part of their report. But we generally approve the contract before the report so that we can prevent any cash flow issues for the organization. Included in your packet is the contract. Contract amount is for $425,000. I have Melaine Rockcamp here on the call. She's muted. She's the new president and CEO of Dutchess Tourism. And I don't know, Melaine, if you want to add any extra words.
Yeah, I can give you just a brief update of some of the things that we accomplished in the last quarter and the things that we're excited to look ahead for in 2021. So our staff continues to work incredibly hard to inspire people to plan safe travel and future trips to Dutchess County. When we last spoke, I gave an update about the October Harvest Memories campaign that we did that highlighted our farms and agritourism here in Dutchess County. And then we, in November, ran a campaign that focused on our quaint towns, which focused on holiday shopping and dining in those small towns that we have, and also tied in with American Express's Small Business Saturday to promote that local shopping and to get people to come support our small boutique shops and other things for their holiday gifts. The other campaign that we ran in the fourth quarter focused on good, clean fun with our hotels and our outdoor recreational assets. Both of these campaigns were supported with strategically targeted videos, ad carousels on Facebook and Instagram, as well as digital display ads, related VR content videos, and placement on the Hulu streaming network, which is something new for us and did very well. Geographically, we focused on the Capital Region, Hudson Valley, New York City, Long Island, and the Philadelphia Drive markets. Videos were also shared with our international travel partners, and you can see all those videos on our YouTube channel as well as on our website at duchesstourism.com/spotlight videos. We also used the fourth quarter to ramp up production so we could hit the ground running in 2021. We are especially excited about our upcoming rollout of our new Air Duchess campaign. This is a series of drone videos that'll launch on January 26th, which is National Plan Your Vacation Day, and give inspirational bird's eye views of 12 different locations throughout the county. A new video will be released every 4 weeks, and that will run through the end of 2021, and there will be a compilation video that will be longer, and then also a video that will feature an interview with our drone pilot and our creative director, which will be featured on our Film Duchess landing page of our website. Coming up this spring, we also have a resilience video campaign that's on tap for February and March to help us through some of those darker months as we deal with the pandemic. And then an outdoor enthusiast campaign ready for March and April to run. With COVID cases continuously on the rise, Dutchess Tourism is using these winter months to inspire future travel and keep Dutchess County top of mind for people stuck at home and dreaming of being able to gather and travel with friends and family to places they can make great memories. And we have a lot of those here in our county. Video marketing is an effective way to engage audiences and increase conversions, particularly in the destination marketing industry, where visual marketing is a proven way to motivate audience to take action. Our videos, for instance, in the last quarter had a 92% video completion rate. So people are watching them all the way through and they're liking what they're seeing. Statistics show that 80% of online viewers recall a video ad they saw in the last 30 days. And 92% of mobile video consumers share videos with other people. Since YouTube is the second largest search engine behind Google, we're developing a strategy to further leverage the strong video content library we're building to help us amplify our message. With regard to the Hudson Valley Film Commission, which funding also comes from the IDA through Dutchess Tourism, they're continuing to work with numerous productions to find locations, crew, actors, and service providers here in Dutchess County. These include some series, which, like HBO's I Know This Much Is True, would provide extended employment and an even greater economic impact than shorter feature films. Most notably, in the fourth quarter, they were able to get a new soundstage certified by the New York State Film Office as a qualified production facility. Any production that wants to take advantage of the state tax credits have to use a qualified facility for some of their filming. So the soundstage at iPark 84 in East Fishkill offers 52,500 square feet of space, making it over 3 times the size of any other qualified production facility in Dutchess County. It includes private office space, ample parking, the required electrical services that films need, and they're within 10 miles of over 1,200 hotel rooms, which is great news for us as productions not only hire local, but have to bring in some outside folks, and so they stay in our lodging properties and support those room nights. It's also just 12 miles from the Metro North train station in Beacon. And this facility will be very attractive to productions and will be instrumental in our growth as a film location here for productions looking to get out of New York City, where it's more difficult right now to film. Arts Mid-Hudson also a pass-through for IDA funding from Duchess Tourism. They are continuing to support virtual programming right now while we're stuck at home, and they've done a great job. Coming up on February 1st is the first in a monthly series about the history of gospel music in the Hudson Valley. This plays off the first festival that they had last year here in February at the Mid-Hudson Civic Center, and they are hoping to replicate a in-person event in September of this year that celebrates gospel here in the Hudson Valley. Nominations for Poet Laureate closed on Monday, and their grant for the Partners in the Arts program will open soon. So that's just a quick summary of some of those activities that we've got going on, but I just want to make sure that you understand how much we appreciate and are incredibly grateful for the continued financial support of the Dutchess County IDA and the work that you all do to help support our businesses and foster that economic growth here in our county for our citizens. Because, you know, Dutchess Tourism, as we think of it as a community shared value. Everything that we do is in support of our residents and our businesses. And your support helps us reach visitors from all over the country and around the world who come here to spend their travel dollars in Dutchess County. Tourism economics in a study commissioned by Empire State Development showed that visitors to Dutchess County in 2019 spent $674.2 million in our county. This was a 5% increase over 2018 and was the 10th consecutive year of growth. We're not going to see that for 2020, but we will recover. There is a huge pent-up demand. The highest portion of those dollars were spent on food and beverage. That was $173.6 million. So travel and tourism is a big deal for us here in Dutchess County, and we can see with COVID how much we miss those visitors and their dollars in our county. Visitors contributed $45.8 million in local taxes and $36.7 million in state taxes. That reduces the overall tax burden on our residents by $774 per household. And that same study showed that 10,836 of our friends and neighbors' livelihoods depend on travel and jobs, and their combined income of $378.1 million was spent locally on groceries, housing, transportation, services, and more. I look forward to giving you all a more complete report later this spring once we have all the data available to share. But until then, I'm happy to answer any questions you have.
Thank you. Could you, either you or Sarah, give the board an idea of how much of the amount that we are providing this contract goes to Arts Mid-Hudson and Hudson Valley Film?
I believe that is $25,000 for the Film Commission and $100 for Arts Mid-Hudson. Is that correct, Sarah?
Yes.
Okay. Does anybody else have any questions? Okay. I would say that historically we've been very pleased with how Dutchess County Tourism has spent our dollars, and we certainly have seen the leverage that has come out of that with these investments, with some of the results that you mentioned. Let's hope that 2021 and that pent-up demand is allowed to be released as the vaccinations come out and COVID becomes less of an issue. Once again, any other questions from the board? If not, I'm going to ask for a motion to approve the resolution authorizing our executive director to enter into the agreement.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Jamie Picone. Can I get a second?
I'll second
This
it.
is Kathy Bauer, a second.
Thank you, Kathy. Okay, Jasmine, could you please take a vote? Roll call.
Al Torjani,
Approved.
Don Sagliano,
Approved.
James Picone,
Approved.
Amy Bondieri,
Approved.
Kathy Bauer,
Approved.
Mark Doyle,
Approved.
Tim Jean.
Approved. Okay. Thank you again, Elaine.
Thank you.
All right. Next thing on the agenda is consideration of an approval of a resolution authorizing the executive director of the IDA to enter an agreement with Dutchess County Local Development Corporation for professional services. Sarah, would you briefly touch on that one? Or I shouldn't say briefly, would you touch on it?
So it is our annual contract between the IDA and LDC for the LDC to provide administrative services for the IDA. The contract amount is $150,000 to have the IDA staff ensure compliance of the agency, file Paris reports, do marketing on behalf of the agency, as well as process and bring projects to the IDA. So in 2020, four new projects were presented to the IDA. They were the Arthur May project, the 2328 Creek Drive, Violet Estates, and the USEF Amazon project, as well as existing projects had come in front of the board for various amendments, such as Eastdale and Hatfield. So again, similar to tourism, a formal report will be at a future meeting, but we asked for consideration approval of the contract at this time.
Does anybody have any questions? Okay, if not, I again will look for a motion from somebody to approve this.
Al Torriani, I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Al. Can I get a second?
Jamie Pocono, second.
Thank you, Jamie. Okay, Jasmine, could you please take a roll call?
Mark Doyle,
Approve.
Kathy Bauer,
Approved.
Amy Bondieri,
Approved.
Jamie Picone,
Approve.
Don Sagliano,
Approved.
Al Torriani,
Approved.
Tim Dean.
Approved. Thank you, everybody. Okay, the next thing on the agenda is authorization for approval for check signing as of January 13th, 2021. And those being proposed for authorization are Tim Dean, Chairman, Mark Doyle, Vice Chair, Kathleen Bauer, Secretary and Treasurer, Sarah Lee, CEO, and Marilyn Yerk, CFO. Can I get a motion to approve those authorizations?
Al Torriani, so moved.
Thank you, Al. Second?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Don Sagliano. Okay, Jasmine, could you please take the vote again?
Amy Bondieri,
Approved.
Jamie Picone,
Approved.
Kathy Bauer,
Approved.
Mark Doyle,
Approved.
Don Sagliano,
Approved.
Al Torriani,
Approved.
Tim Dean.
Approved. Okay, Sarah, is there anything else that we need to talk about at the regular meeting?
No.
Okay, at this time, I will adjourn the meeting. We're going to begin the annual meeting of the Dutchess County Local Development Corporation. Jasmine, would you please take a board roll call?
Tim Dean,
Here.
Mark Doyle,
Yeah.
Kathy Bauer,
Present.
Amy Bondieri,
Here.
Jamie Picone,
Here.
Don Sagliano,
Here.
Al Torriani.
Okay, now that I'm getting practiced in this, the next part of the meeting is the consent agenda. And there is a list of items that are part of the consent agenda. And unless someone requests that we pull something out for individual discussion and vote, they will all be approved by one motion. And those consist of item 2, approval of minutes from January 8, 2020, the election of officers for the year 2021, appointments, renewal of chief financial officer's bond, renewal of our membership in the New York State EDC, authorization for approval of expenses of 2021, audit, appointment of members to the audit, finance, and governance committees, the adoption of various policies, the designation of our law firm as Capolino, Rothschild & Egan, LLP, the designation of our official newspaper as Poughkeepsie Journal, and to designate depository banks. Is there any item that anybody would like to pull out for individual discussion and approval? Okay, hearing none, I will ask for a motion to approve the items on the consent agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the items.
Thank you, Jamie Picone. Can I get a second?
I'll second that.
Kathy was second.
Mark Doyle, thank you for your second. Jasmine, will you please take a vote for the approval of the consent agenda?
Al Torgiani,
Approved.
Don Sagliano,
Approved.
James Picone,
Approved.
Amy Bondieri,
Approved.
Kathy Bauer,
Approved.
Mark Doyle,
Approve.
Tim Dean.
Approved. All right, so that moves us to the discussion agenda. And Sarah, I don't believe we have anything under old business. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. New business. So you want to just run through a couple of those, Sarah?
Yep, so under new business, the board evaluation form, we asked the board to complete, and if you are on the audit and finance committee, to also complete the audit and finance committee questionnaire. The code of ethics is also included, acknowledgement is included, as well as the code of ethics policy for your review, the conflict of interest questionnaire, the financial disclosure statement, and the mission statement and performance measurement acknowledgement. We ask that the board complete these forms and then send them back to our offices, either via email or traditional mail. Going back, the mission statement and performance measurement policy does need to be readopted, as well as the amended whistleblower policy. So Tim, I don't know if you can talk about the mission statement.
Yes, so again, I just want to point out to everybody that as part of the mission statement and performance measurement policy, there are some questions at the end that we as a board should be sure that we're comfortable saying. And the first one is have the board members acknowledge that they have read and understood the mission of the public authority? And we have answered yes. Who has the power to appoint the management of the public authority? And that is the board of the Dutchess County LDC. If the board appoints management, do you have a policy you follow when appointing the management of the public authority? The answer is yes. Briefly describe the role of the board and the role of management in the implementation of the mission. And it discusses that we meet at least monthly with staff. We thoroughly vet and approve every incentive project and professional service project, and that we retain outside auditors to review and certify our financial outcomes. And the final question is, has the board acknowledged that they have read and understood the responses of each of these questions? And the answer would be yes, as we have readopted them annually, as indicated in that. So I guess the first thing that we need to do is to approve the mission statement and performance measurement policy. Is that correct, Sarah?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, so could I get a motion for the approval of that policy?
Just trying to find it.
Al Torgiani, I'll approve it so as written.
Okay, Al's making the motion. Can I get a second?
I'll second.
Okay, Jasmine, if you could get the roll call on that.
Mark Doyle,
Approve.
Kathy Bauer,
Approved.
Amy Bondieri,
Approved.
Jamie Picone,
Approve.
Don Sagliano,
Approved.
Al Torgiani,
Approved.
Tim Dean.
Approved. Okay, and then the next thing that we need to get approved is the whistleblower protection policy. And Sarah, I would assume that you made the same changes to that as the other one. Is that correct?
Correct. So the whistleblower policy last updated in 2013. And when we did a review of the policy, we recommend the addition of language to be consistent with best practices.
Okay, and those are indicated in red in the packet on that page. So could I get a motion from somebody to approve our whistleblower protection policy?
I'll make a
I'll
motion.
make the motion.
Kathy Bauer made the motion. Jamie, would you be willing to second?
I'll second.
Jamie Picone, second. Thank you. Jasmine, if you could just quickly take a vote.
Al Torjani,
Approved.
Don Sagliano,
Approved.
Jamie Picone,
Approve.
Amy Bondieri,
Approved.
Kathy Bauer,
Approved.
Mark Doyle,
Approve.
Tim Dean.
Approved. Okay, Sarah, is there anything else that we need to discuss during our annual meeting?
No, that is complete.
Okay, at this time, I would like to adjourn the annual meeting. All right, let's begin the regular meeting of the Dutchess County Local Development Corporation. Jasmine, will you take a board roll call? Thank you.
Tim Dean,
Here.
Mark Doyle,
Yeah.
Kathy Bauer,
Here.
Amy Bondieri,
Here.
Jamie Picone,
Here.
Don Sagliano,
Here.
Al Torjani.
Here.
Okay, next thing is just to mention again our conflict of interest policy. If you're aware of anything on the agenda for today that could cause a conflict, I'd ask that you state your name and what the conflict is at this time. Okay, I don't hear any, but if anything comes up during the meeting, similar to what happened with Mark in the other meeting, just let us know. Sarah, proof of meeting notice was posted.
Yes. Proof of meeting
Great.
posted on January 7th.
Thank you. Bills and communications, anything new there?
No.
Okay. We have two sets of minutes again from December 2nd and December 9th, 2020. Does anybody have any corrections or requests from those minutes? Okay, could I get a motion to approve those minutes?
I'll make a motion to approve the meeting minutes as written.
Thank you, Al. Can I get a second?
I'll second those. Mark Doyle.
Thank you, Mark. Okay, Jasmine, if you could take the vote.
Don Sagliano,
Present.
Jamie Picone,
In favor, I'm sorry.
In favor.
Al Torjani,
Approved.
Amy Bondieri,
Approved.
Mark Doyle,
Approve.
Kathy Bauer,
Approved.
Tim Dean.
Approved. All right, Marilyn, do you have any report, or is that going to again take place in February?
Right, we're in the middle of our audit, so I won't be giving a report today, but the end of the year report will be given at the February meeting.
Okay. Sarah, are there any reports of any other committees?
So no report of committees.
All right. Any unfinished business?
No.
All right. New business. We're looking for authorization for approval for check signing as of January 13th, 2021, and the proposed authorized persons are Tim Dean, Chairman, Mark Doyle, Vice Chair, Kathleen Bauer, Secretary and Treasurer, Sarah Lee, CEO, and Marilyn Yerkes, CFO. Could I get a motion to approve those authorizations?
I'll make a motion to approve the authorizations.
Thank you, Jamie.
Al Torriani, I'll second.
Thank you, Al. Jasmine, could you take a vote?
Kathy Bauer,
Approved.
Mark Doyle,
Approve.
Jamie Picone,
Approve.
Amy Bondieri,
Approved.
Al Torjani,
Approved.
Don Sagliano,
Approved.
Tim Dean.
Approved. Marilyn, would you just very quickly and briefly just remind the board of what
Give me a call back, please, at 845.
somebody's got their phone not on mute listening to a message. Marilyn, if you could just remind the board of the types of check signing controls that we have in regards to an amount, requiring dual signatures or, something like that.
Anything over $10,000 requires dual signatures. The checks are kept locked in a desk drawer here in my office, which is locked if I'm not here, and only Sarah has the key. The again, checks are, before any check is written, all of the expenses are reviewed by Sarah and approved and then sent to Tim to be signed off on and approved. Mostly Sarah signs the checks unless she's not in the office or we need a second signature.
And who prepares the checks?
I prepare the checks.
Is there a time when you prepare the check and sign them?
It could happen, but I don't believe it has happened at all this year for 2020.
Okay.
And
that
if
would
it
only be-
happens, it's a small check. It would be something, an emergency type thing.
Right. And before those happen, I still have to
Oh,
initial and
you
sign
would
off
still
on
have
every
to
invoice.
approve it, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to just refresh everybody's memory on the controls we have. All right, Sarah, is there anything else for the regular meeting?
Nope, that ends the business for the regular meeting.
Okay, well, I thank everybody. I know that a lot of the discussion today was more procedural, but it's important that we make sure that we follow all the proper protocols to, to demonstrate to our taxpayers that we're being careful with their money. So I appreciate it. And at this point, I'm going to adjourn the meeting. And do we have another meeting date scheduled at this time?
So our next meeting is scheduled for Wednesday, February 10th.
Okay, so I hope to see everybody at that time and have a great rest of the month.
All right. Have a good day, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye now.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.